Hey y'all, hi, I'm Hannah, and today I'm going to be talking about spring 2024 fashion trends. I think trends are interesting. They often show us what is going on in the zeitgeist, kind of what we are all subconsciously or even consciously wanting. I often feel like they bring what we are subconsciously wanting to the conscious mind, but in a way that has shape and color. So it's kind of like a metaphor. Trends are kind of like metaphors for what we're wanting subconsciously. It's anthropologically interesting. But I am always assessing trends through the lens of what I want long-term for myself and my wardrobe. Fewer, nicer things, pieces that last for years and years and years, which means that they have to transcend seasons and transcend trends. A timelessness that goes beyond aesthetics, but actually has to do with the objects themselves. Some trends do dovetail with those goals, and some trends totally don't. If this is your first time to my channel and you're interested in aesthetics like I am, and this sounds like an interesting way to approach that topic, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Before we start, on my face today is a full face of Merit Beauty. Merit is sponsoring me again today to talk about an exciting new launch of theirs, which is just the best because you know that I love this brand and have for a long time. It's a minimalist vegan beauty brand that makes non-comedogenic products, meaning they won't clog pores, which is great for me because I struggle intermittently with adult acne. So today, to create this look, I started by applying Merit Great Skin, which is their priming serum. It's a lightweight biphase serum that hydrates and plumps the skin. It leaves a really glassy finish and is the perfect primer for super dry winter skin, which I have. Next, I applied the Minimalist. It's a light, creamy complexion product that looks exactly like real skin, which is my favorite thing about it. It's not quite a foundation, it's not quite a concealer, but it replaces both. On my cheeks, I put the Flush Balm in Fox, one of my most used Merit products. It's a cream tint that melts into the skin and looks incredibly natural, but also incredibly flattering. It also blends seamlessly with whatever's underneath it. So you can see that the Flush Balm has integrated beautifully with the complexion products, giving me that gorgeous dewy look on my cheeks. And lastly, Merit's very exciting new release, the Signature Lip Matte. This is a soft, full matte lipstick that conditions lips just like the original Signature Lip, which, as you may remember, is my all-time favorite lipstick, but just with more intense pigment. And I chose the shade Court for today. The shade is one of my favorite color categories of lipstick. It's what I call a soft red. It might read more like a pink on some people, but on me, because I'm so pale, it's an effortless, sophisticated, off red. I love a soft red, and this is just as perfect of a soft red as I've ever come across. Every first order from Merit's website includes the iconic signature bag for free with the order. I will put the links in the description box down below. I think if you click on my link, you can shop my 4-product look, the look that I applied in this video today. And thank you so much to Merit for sponsoring me. Such a pleasure, as always. Okay, let's talk about fashion trends. So my source here is this Vogue article. These are the spring 2024 trends Vogue editors are wearing now. I haven't really been following. I haven't made time this year so far to watch any runway shows or even to read that much about what happened on the runways. I'm not even observing which trends are trickling down into stores very much because I'm not spending very much time browsing online. I'll put a link to a video about that in the description box and up here in the cards in case you want to know what I'm talking about and you didn't see that video. So I'm trusting that this article is at least somewhat of a roundup. I mean, it is Vogue after all. And if nothing else, it will give us some fodder to just talk about trends and aesthetics at large. Trend number 1. Fancy flats. So here's a quote from Alexis Bennett Parker, a senior shopping writer at Vogue. Nope, the fancy flat trend isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I can't wait until the weather warms up so I can show off my ankles again. And there's a picture of this rhinestone ballerina flat. Immediately, I butt up against my desire not to be too judgy. I mean, I guess that's in the nature of this video. Judginess is what I'm here to perform today, so I should get over it. But I try to hold space, for things to be the way they are for a reason. But here's the thing. As I said in the intro, I tend to assess trends through the lens of my desire for fewer, nicer things, which means longevity in the pieces that I do buy, a kind of personal lifetime sustainability in my wardrobe. And that has to do with the styling of the pieces, and it also has to do with the sturdiness of the pieces. I just have never had a flat like this that didn't look disgusting after a season. It's kind of like the summer sandals conundrum. Shoes get a beating. Shoes get a beating when you wear them well, when you really wear them. And if you have fewer, nicer things, you're wearing your things a lot. You're wearing the things you do have a lot. That's one of the things I want, right? I want that in my life. I want to actually wear the things I have. I want them to be of use. And shoes, when you make them of use, they get a beating. They're touching the ground all over the place. They're touching your gross feet all the time. They're getting sweat into. They're getting like pushed and pulled and stretched all over the place by your walking feet. So a shoe that has longevity, a shoe that feels like a good investment to me, is really sturdy. And by definition, summer sandals aren't sturdy, and they're also open to the elements. I talked about this in my video about how to choose an investment piece that you won't forget. I'll link that in the cards in the description box too. Flats like this, I feel also by definition aren't sturdy because the shape itself is delicate. It's just one little layer of light leather or mesh. In the case of these mango rhinestone ballerinas, mesh with glued on rhinestones, which just are gonna fall off. I mean, maybe I'm selling mango short. Maybe they're magically somehow sewn on in this case, but if they are, then wouldn't the sewing rub the inside of your foot? This shoe on the screen, it just looks like you might wear it for one night out to the bar and it'll be busted after that, let alone for a whole season, let alone what I want from my shoes, which is season after season, year after year. But it's not this shoe on the screen only. It's really when I think about ballet flats or ballerina flats and the times in my life when they have trended before, because I'm decades old, and then the times in my life when I've worn them, they just never look good. They always look busted. Everybody's ballet flats on their feet. This is my hot take and my potentially unpopular opinion. Everybody's ballet flats all the time on their feet in the world always look bad. They all look bad. They are all falling apart, crumbling at the seams, getting that kind of collapsed, sort of slumped quality. Show me a ballet flat that looks really good, really sharp and clean and lovely on someone, and what you're showing me is a brand new ballet flat that was just purchased. And for me, that's not good enough. Now, the exceptions to this might be the really, really sturdily made ballet flats, like hard shell, you know what I mean? Like I think of these Chanel, those iconic Chanel flats. If they're really sturdy and really well made, then yes, they might last longer. But I feel like most shoes in this category aren't like that. They're mostly these little foot gloves. And just when those words came out of my mouth, I remembered that a couple weeks ago, I was looking at some flats on Everlane called the Day Glove. I've never purchased anything from Everlane, and I've not wanted flats, ballet flats, in like 10 years. But I was looking at those Everlane shoes. They must have gotten advertised to me somehow, the Day Glove, and I was like, I want those. And now, even after everything I just said, I'm thinking about them again and I'm like, I still kind of want them. Has anyone tried the Day Glove from Everlane? Are they the magical exception to what I just said about ballet flats always looking bad? Because if they are, maybe I'll fly in the face of everything I've said thus far and try them. But not until the weekend. Okay, trend number 2 on Vogue.com, lived in luxury. You already know. I could have written this one. Virginia Smith, global head of Fashion Network, says, I'm not sentimental about my clothes, but I do keep the pieces that work best for me and wear them continually. I gravitated towards pieces in the spring collection that had a worn-in patina. Patina Gate 2024, like this amazing Miu Miu jacket that looks like I've had it for years. So I will return to patina in a moment, never fear. But let me just briefly address this. Virginia is saying that she gravitated towards this brand new Miu Miu jacket that is made to look like she's had it for years. That's fine for her because she probably got it for free because she works for Vogue. The trend of lived-in luxury, I'm more into executing by wearing the luxury pieces that you bought last year or the year before that and have been wearing continually so that they are lived in, so that they do look lived in. Like that seems to be the much better way to execute this trend. And I feel like this should be a trend always. For me, it is. The idea, the aesthetic idea that when something looks a little bit aged, a little bit worse for wear, it looks better but not in the way of the ballet flats that are falling apart. They look bad because they're not designed to last. So at the heart of this trend must lie pieces that are designed in such a way that as they age, they retain their structural integrity and they maybe develop a kind of patina that improves them rather than aging in a way that makes them look terrible the way that most ballet flats do. So I'm into this for two reasons. One, because in order to execute the pieces themselves, the luxury pieces that you invest in, your investment pieces for your wardrobe, they have to be really, really solidly made, really well made so that they will age well. And I'm also into the idea of us all wearing with pride pieces that visibly have a little bit of wear on them, because they're lived in. And the idea that that's actually kind of a mark of luxury, rather than the only luxuriousness being brand newness. This is probably my favorite trend. My favorite trend of all time, lived in luxury. Maybe I should put that as a tagline in my bio. As for PATina, it can be pronounced either way.
PATina.
Do you hear this? This is the Google pronunciation bot giving the British pronunciation of PATina.
PATina. PATina.
Here's the American pronunciation.
PATina.
So for some reason, possibly because I attended a British-run school for 3 years of my schooling, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade when I lived abroad as a child, for some reason I say PATina with the British pronunciation. And whenever I say it on camera, I get floods of people in the comments telling me that I'm saying it wrong. People have strong feelings about PATina. But now I've cleared it up once and for all. Let's move on. Trend number 3 on Vogue.com, blue magic. Talia Abbas, senior shopping editor, says, after a long winter season of red, 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 don't get me wrong, I still love it in all its fiery shades, I am gravitating towards fresh, energizing hues for spring, especially those misty, icy blues seen on the runway, to juxtapose with more edgy pieces. The example of more edgy pieces is a leather midi skirt. So because I haven't had an eye on the runways, I didn't know that misty, icy blues were seen on the runway, and it's fine. Actually, it's better than fine. I just published this video about using color to kind of curate your wardrobe and put together outfits. In the video, I talked about knowing your colors and choosing not to buy things that aren't in your palette. Misty Icy Blues are not in my palette. They're nowhere in my palette. They're not even adjacent to my palette. However, I don't object to misty icy blue in a vacuum. I don't object to it being a trending color. I don't object to other people wearing it. It's beautiful. The last thing that I would do, though, would be to go out and buy something in a color that's not in my palette just because it's trending. So when people are doing that, then I object to color as a trend. I object to acting on a trend of color in that way. Being like, oh, I'm going to choose this color because it's trending and not because it suits me and will suit me in the long run. So no to that. But you can't criticize a color just for being itself and for being beautiful. And you can't criticize designers for choosing to design things in a color. I wouldn't be like, oh, I dislike blue. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of this color. That's why it's not one of the colors in my palette, but it can be done beautifully. It is being done beautifully, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just know your own colors and have that be the lodestone, and take that knowledge and then go out and look at trends with a gimlet eye, holding on to that knowledge. That's what I suggest. But are we on trend number 4? Reveal and conceal. Kiana Murden, commerce writer, says, I've been quite into skirts lately, so when temperatures warm up, I'm eager to take transparent fabrics for a spin. I like the idea of pairing a mesh or lacy textured skirt with a full coverage sweater or button down like they were styled in the spring 2024 runway. It's all about balance, right? Have I not discussed this in which was the video? Please, I beg of you, let me convince you to wear your clothes in a new way. And then there was another one where I talked about lingerie-inspired things. I think it was mainly that video. Sheer and transparent things. And why do we keep saying thing? The most beautiful example, I feel, from that video was this sheer lace midi skirt with an oversized sweater over it, and the oversized sweater coming down to mid-thigh. I absolutely love this. And as I've talked about in the past, these kinds of things can be found easily at thrift stores, like weird sheer skirts, sheer overlay skirts. And actually, the fact that these feel actually like, why do we keep saying actually? These designer skirts that are in the Vogue article do kind of look thrifted to me. And that makes me think that this is like a 90s throwback. It's part of the 90s revival and the passion for thrifting things and just the overall aesthetic of that slightly cobbled together, found it in the back of my grandmother's closet, but made it work in a sexy way type of vibe. I don't know if this is going to suit me in my life right now, but that's fine. Just in isolation, I like the trend. trend. Okay, next up, trend number 5 on the list, the modern tunic. Madeline Fass, Senior Shopping Market Editor, says, I've found the most flattering and sophisticated going out top to be a sleeveless tunic. So I was happy to see a handful of new takes on the elongated silhouette on the spring 2024 runways from Gucci to Tory Burch. So I'm looking at the pictures. One is like a long vest, just like a vest that would be part of a 3-piece suit, but is long. 2 of them are vests. And then one is just this textured silk tunic top. This is fine. I feel like I don't object to the long tunic out of hand. Like, I don't feel like it's ugly or something, but I do feel like it's a silhouette that will work on some people, not others. It's pretty specific. And so there may be some of you out there who are like, I love a long tunic. Long tunic is my best look. I'm always looking for long tunics. And for you, it's like, great. It's good that this is trending because there will be long tunics to the left of you, long tunics to the right of you. But just like with color, I wouldn't suggest the idea of getting long tunics and wearing them just because they're trending if it doesn't suit you and it's not something that you've been interested in. I don't like the part of trending styles, silhouettes, and colors that make people try to fit a square peg into a round hole. Some trends are like that. Some trends are just like a recipe for fitting a square peg into a round hole, or a recipe for trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And I feel like this one could be that. This is kind of like sidling up next to that. And it's also just the examples are a little bit weird. I'm like, I mean, I didn't see the runways, but I'm like, are long tunics really trending? Like, how many long tunics are we really seeing if the Vogue editors had to pull 2 vests to get 3 examples? But mostly it's just that it's a little bit personal style and body specific. The previous trend, for example, the sheer skirts, I mean, it's not just skirts, but the reveal and conceal mesh lace garments that have some parts covered and some parts see-through. That is a principle that could be applied very broadly. And so if you're interested in that principle, you can find a way to make that principle integrate with the silhouettes that you already like to wear, with the level of formality that you're already interested in. You know, like reveal and conceal could be applied to activewear if you mostly live your life in activewear, or it could be applied to formality level 4 outfits or even formality level 3 outfits. So it's just very versatile. Whereas the long tunic, the modern tunic, it's like, it's a narrow trend, I guess. So we're moving on. Working girl. This is another broader trend. Tan Goodman, sustainability editor, says, I love the chic of workwear from Max Mara and Saint Laurent. This reminds me, I think the last time I filmed one of these videos, tailoring was one of the trends. Like, we're seeing a lot of tailoring on the runway. This is kind of like just that again. And I love it because it's totally timeless. Workwear, calling it working girl, isn't that a little bit, it's like, what is this, the 1950s? It's like women are working now. They're like, since women are working now, blazers for women are a trend. It seems a little bit like that's how Vogue is framing this. Skipping over entirely the framing, which I actually think is clumsy. Even calling it workwear, I don't know. I'm not going to touch it. All I'm going to say is a blazer is forever. A blazer, a beautiful blazer that fits you, that fits your silhouette and your style. Tailoring like this is always going to be in style. It's always going to be impeccable. And so it's never a bad investment. And I like seeing it on this list for that reason. The fashion flip-flop. This is the next one. I've forgotten what number we're on. Hannah Jackson, fashion writer, says, despite the fact that I'm a native Californian, I never thought I'd see the day where I bought a pair of flip-flops. But lo, I'm a convert. Maybe it's the frigid weather talking, but I desperately want to break out a pair of ultra-thin black leather sandals a la the Rose City flip-flop. I can't wait to wear them with a pair of baggy jeans and an oversized button-down, or even juxtaposed with a more formal pair of trousers. Okay, the judginess is coming out now. I have a lot to say about this, but I'll try to do it concisely. Where can I even start? I feel like we have to start with the idea of black leather flip-flops from the Row, which notoriously makes extremely expensive versions of beautifully designed, like streamlined minimalist things. But yes, the Rose City flip-flop sandals are $890. That's $900. This is a $1,000 pair of black leather flip-flops that, to the naked eye, to the untrained eye, but also probably to most eyes, even trained eyes, to literally almost anybody on the planet, would just look like you bought it for $14.99 at Target, and that they're faux leather. I mean, I think it's very hard, with just a flip-flop like this, it's very hard to distinguish between the beautifully made luxury version and the basic version. It's like some type types of garments, many types of garments, really do telegraph their quality. And some things, no matter how quality they are, no matter what they're made out of, no matter how much they cost, you just can't exactly tell by looking. But in some cases, it might be worth it. It's not really the main point of getting something that will last, is so that it will look luxurious, so that people can tell by looking that it was expensive. I mean, that's not the main point. So in some cases, it still might be worth it to invest in something, to buy the really nice version of something, so that you can wear it season after season and it will continue to look good. But with a flip-flop, it's just going to get busted eventually, I feel, because look at it. It's just little bits of bits. I mean, I almost feel like a flip-flop is designed to be a relatively disposable shoe. And so there's something kind of sick and postmodern about $1,000 flip-flop from the row. And then there's the fact that she's saying, I thought that I would never like this. I thought I would never buy a pair of flip-flops, but now I suddenly want it. That is an example of trends really swaying somebody. And I don't know, it's happened to me before. So I'm not criticizing Hannah Jackson for saying that happened. It's just all of it together. The I didn't think I would like this, and all of a sudden I'm really into the trend, and the ones that I want cost $1,000. I actually think, just backing up from all of that, I actually think flip-flops with a pair of pinstripe trousers or baggy jeans can look really cool. I could see myself getting some for the summer. I totally could. I wouldn't spend $1,000 on them, but I could see myself getting a little bit of a nicer version, like maybe a $50 version made out of leather, so that they would last and so that they would continue to look nice. Maybe for some people who have way, way more money than I do, the $1,000 version is their version of me getting the $50 version. I would be more likely to get the $50 version than to get flip-flops at the dollar store and wear them. So maybe under that light, all of my criticism falls apart. If money really is no object, I could see where someone would be coming from and wanting the pair. I'm not trying to justify the $1,000 flip-flops for me or anyone. It's just, I guess I can see a better flip-flop. I can see a better flip-flop being a good choice. A sturdier flip-flop being a good choice for someone. The question is just where's the limit to that? At what price point do you pass out of paying for the flip-flop to be better, you break through the ceiling of that making sense, and you just enter the realm of paying ridiculously huge amounts for a brand name flip-flop? I feel like it's probably around the $50 mark, which means that you're paying the extra $850 so that you'll have the flip-flops from the row. Let's move on. Okay. This one. Next up, category is Sublime Exposure. A bit esoteric, Vogue. And then we have Ton Goodman, sustainability editor, delivering the description of this trend. This season, I do love the Sublime Exposure. That's all we've got. And then there's a picture of a Valentino organza shirt trimmed with sequins. So organza is slightly sheer, maybe, and then it has sequins. So maybe that's what they're talking about. And then there are two dresses, one that's layered and pleated, doesn't have sequins, and one that's fit and flare. I mean, it's a little hard to tell. I don't know what this means, Sublime Exposure. Does it mean elevated garments that are a little bit sheer in places? And if so, is that tremendously different from the Conceal and Reveal category that we already discussed? It's just Vogue being vague about trends. Poetically, it's my favorite one. I too am appreciating, what did Ton say? I too do love the Sublime Exposure this season. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, Ladylike touches. Sasha Pinto, the Vogue 100 Experiences manager, says, as Chanel's Summer-Spring 2024 show unfolded, I was mesmerized by the confluence of tulle, tweed, and those oh-so-chic white tights worn with virtually every look. Immediately transported back to my childhood reverie of ballet core. I can't wait to try them out on the streets of New York, paired with my own version of a Chanel frothy tulle skirt and a touch of tweed. The way I feel about this personally is that none of these would be good investment pieces for me. This sort of ballet core tweed, classic Chanel tweed jacket meets opaque tights thing, it feels very of the moment. It's the kind of trend, and this is a type of trend that I've besmirched in the past in videos like this. Sounds like the type of trend that 6 months or a year from now will be extremely recognizable as so last year. That is so last year. Oh, that's what everyone was doing for a hot minute last spring. That to me is red flag, red alert, stay away. That is the least copacetic type of trend with my overall philosophy. So just a Chanel jacket, a Chanel tweed jacket in general, in isolation is not that. Those are relatively classic. Doesn't fit right now for me with what I like to wear. So I'm not interested in that. But I think that the trend being discussed here is even more specific than that, and actually even less of a good choice for me than that. Y'all, there are a couple more trends here, but I'm running out of steam. There's one about putting a bow on everything, and then a separate one that's talking about rosettes being on everything. I know that bows and rosettes aren't the same thing, but I kind of feel like that is the same thing. There's another one, pump up the volume, flouncy peplums, exaggerated draping. I actually feel like these are all the same thing. They're calling them separate things, but it's talking about texture and sculptural volume on garments. And that is something that I really love, actually. I really love it because it can fit with the way that I'm starting to explore aesthetic minimalism in clothing. One of the things that makes aesthetic minimalism so attractive to me is that in many cases, print and diversity of color in outfits are played down so that the sculptural qualities of garments can be played up. I enjoy the sculptural nature of clothing the most of almost any quality of clothing, right? I'm more interested in sculptural qualities in clothing than I am in prints right now and in diversity of color in clothing right now. So I am interested in this trend at large. The way that it's manifesting in many cases, which is like extremely maximalist with not only volume and sculpture, but also print and color, isn't quite up my alley personally. But overall, I'm in favor of fashion exploring volume and texture. I like it. I'm going to stop. Was there one more? Oh, modern romance, ruching, ruffles, and roses. It's all the same. These last 5 are like all just, to me, they all can be conflated into one thing, which is about sculptural volume, and I'm into it. That is it, y'all. What fun. I feel like this has left me wanting to get into volume, maybe just because it was the very last one that I discussed. Which one am I the most into overall? Well, lived in luxury, because it basically just is the philosophy, of course. But that one at the end about sculptural volume, rosettes, and ruffles, I feel a little bit inspired to think more about where I can find that in my existing wardrobe and how I can kind of play that up with what I have. Let's talk in the comments about these trends. Is there one? What I particularly like to know is if there's one that is already in your closet. You know, I mean, these days, in my current phase of life, when I read listicles like this, that's what I'm looking for. I'm like, what is trending that is already what I'm into? Like, which one of the things that I'm already into, that I already wear, or that I already own, happens to be coming back around again right now? I just like to know that. That's basically all I'm ever doing. I'm not looking at this and being like, misty blue, better run out and buy something new because it's on trend. That's not the point of trends for me, and I love finding a way to appreciate them that's not about that. So let me know how you are appreciating these trends yourselves, for yourselves. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world. I think we got it.